I was saying before, we had our son. That was the main reason I left VFX, because I loved it, but you have to work a lot of hours, or you have to like devote yourself. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, of course.
And then I fell in love with this little kid. Like, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And work became secondary.
You're hearing from Marco Foglia, a veteran VFX animator who is currently supervising at Agora Studio. How do you feel about like the no CGI sort of stuff that's going around?
I will say I do hate that. I'm very much that person that if I was on Twitter, I'd be getting very mad at Christopher Nolan. There's no CG in my movie. Like, fuck, go out there.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the time.
Yeah.
Bullshit, you know what I mean?
Marco has been in the industry for about 25 years, and he's worked for companies like Bungie, Industrial Light and Magic, EA. We are super excited to hear his perspective and what all those years have taught him so far. We were just looking at your background on LinkedIn, and we noticed that you had your first job on the 2000s.
1999 was my first job.
1999?
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. People weren't born. I meet people, I have no idea how old you guys are, but I meet people that weren't born when I was working. But it's not the same though. Like, there was nothing there back then. So there's no, the rate of learning was much slower. So yeah, maybe I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't feel like I got even remotely good until like 5-6 years in. Because like all we had was like Toy Story and Bug's Life, and we just ripped that off constantly.
Yeah.
Every show I did, like a cartoon show was my first job. What did it say my first job was? Did it say Click Animation maybe?
I think I should have written it down. No, I didn't write it down.
A studio doesn't exist anymore. But that
it was Click Animation. Yeah.
That was my first job. That was 99 then. So maybe I should fix LinkedIn.
Sorry. I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had nothing. We were doing a cartoon show, and so we were just ripping off everything we saw on Toy Story. We had that, and we had Bug's Life. I think it was Bug's Life.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's too different from what we do today. We rip off other shows all the
Still,
time.
but I feel like now there's like resources everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's on YouTube. And I would frame by frame some stuff too, and that's how I practiced. And yeah.
Did you have any like education available, like animation specific, or did you learn on the job?
I went to a trade school here.
Okay.
And they didn't really teach you. They taught you the software. They didn't really. The animation was the lightest part of it. It's kind of similar to today. I think a lot of schools still make you like a generalist. And that was basically them. The way I got taught to do a walk cycle was to take the two IK legs and draw a path and constrain it to the path so it was doing the motion.
Oh my gosh.
Without, you can't tweak that shit. You can't do anything. That's how I was literally taught. And so I don't think my teacher ever really did animation.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you think the teachers had any kind of...
No. They were all more technical people or a little bit of experience. But most people were lighters, I think. Like, I don't even know what we had back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't taught anything. I learned everything on the job. My first director, who was a real prick, but he was a great guy. No, he wasn't a real prick. He was just rough, what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
He was super rough, super just direct and angry all the time and didn't like your shot. But learned a ton from him. He was good.
So you started in games first, or what was it?
No, my first job was a cartoon show.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the best first job for everybody. I'll just talk like all the time. I'll talk about everything.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's the best first job for anybody. Just, or like any hard job is the best first job.
Right.
Because you're kind of stuck. Like we had to do 25 seconds a week or 30. I can't remember exactly. And it was hell. It wasn't hell. You're excited. You're young. You love everything. I'm learning everything. It was in 3ds Max.
Ooh.
And we didn't have normal rigs. It was still something
so
called...
you didn't never animated in Softimage? Did people animate
in school? I was in Softimage.
Okay.
And then my third job, Softimage was big here. Or it switched to XSI by the time I started working professionally with it. But Softimage was what I learned in school and what I did all my personal work on. I don't know if you guys know about this, but biped. No. It's not even... It's like it was a cool idea back in 1999. But the point was, like, it was a lot of footage to deliver. You didn't know what you were doing. You had a director that had a 2D background that did know everything.
Right.
Helped us a lot, but we used to live there. I used to live at work. I know it's not really the way it is anymore, and I definitely would never do that again. But back then, I lived at work. And the company was it looked just like this. So it wasn't renovated.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough computers for everybody. So we had 2 shifts. I was the night shift.
Oh my god.
So I'd show up at 3 and I'd
Wait, were you working with Matt at the time?
Matt DeMuro?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's from my first
Oh,
job.
he
I've known
told me
him.
about this already.
Same thing. There's a few of us that we met in our first job. Some of them even worked for Agora. Some of them I've worked with over the years.
So wait, something I didn't realize. So the night shift person would animate on the same shot as a day shift person, or a different shot?
No, different work.
Different work.
But
okay.
because they couldn't afford computers for the whole team they needed,
Yeah.
they'd come in, what was it, 7 to 3, and we would do 3 to 11 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I remember, and Matt was on the night shift with me a few times.
Yeah.
And we would just stay there overnight. I would just keep working,
Yeah.
or we'd play video games. It's very different. You were allowed to smoke indoors back then too.
Okay.
So I'd get there.
Oh my gosh.
So my desk partner ended up being one of my very close friends over the years. His name is Phil.
Yeah.
He used to just be this big ashtray of cigarettes like at my desk every time I came into work. I remember all that. It was kind of like Wild West. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My first 3-4 jobs in the city were just, I don't know how to explain it, like not professional environments.
Right.
Like it really evolved the industry since then.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was nice and respectful, or at least to what I saw, right? There was nothing weird. But yeah, we were able to just stay at the studio all night. Second, third job I had, we did the first kind of 3D movie they ever did here.
Mm-hmm.
It was also done on 3ds Max.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple years after this one.
Mm-hmm.
We had the whole floor to ourselves. There was just the
Okay.
animation team of 20, 30 people,
Yeah.
and one producer and our anim director or soup. And that was it. And so whenever they would leave for the night, we would just stay there all night. Like I don't know. I didn't have an apartment back then. I lived at home with my parents. So I would just stay there, and literally we would just party.
Do you feel like you still make those kind of connections with people nowadays that you work from
No.
home and you, yeah.
Not at all. I haven't met anybody really new since I left the last studio I was at. And even then, like once you become kind of, your role is different. To tell you the truth, even like I'd never really met, I used to make friends at work or have talks at lunch, but once you become a soup, it's not the same. At least it wasn't for me.
How come?
I don't know. I feel like I never changed, but everybody looks at you differently, and there's kind of this wall there.
You're not sure if they're laughing because it's really funny or.
Oh, I know for sure most people didn't laugh because they think it was funny. Like I like to joke constantly, and I know some people were genuinely laughing. Like I think you're genuinely laughing right now.
Right.
So I can get a bit of that sense. But no, yeah, it's a bit of that. It's not like I don't trust people. You're not in the trenches. I'm the one that's causing you. It depends on your attitude.
Yeah.
But I'm the one that's causing you work, or I'm the one that's not making your day easy or hard or whatever your
Right.
perspective might be.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as the person next to you that you're asking for help every 5 minutes, and
Right.
you don't form those kinds of relationships anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that. I felt like, because there's people I worked with that I would have loved. I would have easily become friends with them,
Yeah.
and I never kind of developed that relationship with them. That's what it is. But
I
yeah.
guess that's kind of a negative from working from home too. I mean, even if we were at the studio, things have changed a bit since back then, I guess.
You know,
not
I'm
as
completely out of
informal.
touch. Like I don't even know. And the last studio I worked at in person was a video game company here, Eidos.
What year was it?
It was right before I came to Agora. So 2019, I think, is when I left, right before
Okay.
COVID. We were already working from home. COVID didn't even affect me in that way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of working from home already for a year, and I just smoothly
coast
transitioned
through it,
into,
yeah.
But that studio everybody was very quiet and not very social. So
Did you choose it on purpose, or is that what you were looking for?
yeah, I was looking for a break from, no, I was looking for a break from VFX.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never liked video games before because I always felt like it was not, how would you put this? I was always chasing quality. I was trying to do like the best projects and do the coolest work. And I got into this to make movies. Like I wanted to do VFX since forever, until it finally killed me. And so then I'm like, okay, I'll give video games a chance. And then it ended up being a lot of fun.
Okay.
We never got to do any, I never got to finish a game.
Okay.
Because I was anim director on 2 kind of incubation projects they're called,
Okay.
and they never got released. So I worked a whole year to kind of get the game ready, and then it didn't get the green light. And then we worked a whole other year, and then after that, I was like, oh, I'm discouraged again, and I moved on.
Jeez, that is tough. 2 years with nothing to show for.
I felt bad too for the team because they had some really
Yeah.
cool ideas, but that's what it is. But games are pretty cool. I feel compared to VFX right now. Yeah.
I was gonna say that mentality has changed a bit. Like before, it used to be, well, I don't know. The quality of the games has also gotten pushed a lot.
They got way more than they were before.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this, oh, you mean like a tier list of like,
Yeah.
working in film, you're the coolest. And then
I
if
feel
you
like
work
that
in-
was how it was perceived. Like, you know,
That's
oh, you're
fair.
in games? No, you'll get to film someday.
I feel like I had a bit of that too.
Yeah.
And like I'd only done cinematics in games before that. I never did in-game stuff. And I didn't like cinematics. It was like literally just, in my mind, it was just cheap version of what I like doing. Like it's mocap cleanup.
Right.
Didn't look as good. And then it goes in the engine and it doesn't look as good. Everything's weird. Lighting, why are the fucking inside of their mouths lit?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of crap. It's still kind of a problem in games.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got over that.
Yeah.
It was way better.
So at Ubisoft, you went from being a senior animator to then like animation director.
At Eidos.
Sorry, Eidos. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I did one contract as a cinematics animator, and then they just asked me if I wanted to try and be anim director on a game.
Were you pursuing that, or was it like?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I was saying before, we had our son, and I kind of realized that I'd have to sacrifice my home life for work. That was the main reason I left VFX, because I loved it, but you have to work a lot of hours, or you have to like devote yourself. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd known so many people, and you hear about it all the time, ruined families and couples that break up and all this crap. I just didn't want to go there. And then I fell in love with this little kid. Like I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And work became secondary. So I wanted to leave VFX, and I didn't know what to do. And then I had the opportunity at Eidos. I'm like, okay, it's time to try this for real and see what it's like. And then I ended up loving it. Like I still left the company, but I still do game stuff on the side. Or whenever we get a contract, I still love to do game stuff.
Okay.
Something about it. And you know the other difference too is when you're a soup in VFX, you're not really, depends on how long you stay at a company, I think. At least for me, I never stayed at a place long enough that I kind of moved up. I was always just a soup. And I think I was doing well. Like I think they were trusting me kind of stuff. But you have so many people above you. But when you're anim director on a game, it's like you're the animation director. You get to control everything. And not that I need control, but just you have all this creative freedom. Like it's so much fun. I don't care if it sucks, but it's going to be my suck.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm the one that did this. You know what I mean? And if it's not as good as it can be, we could try to make it better. But yeah. So I ended up liking that too about anim direction. But never got to see the whole process. Because it would have been like 4 years before we finished the real game.
Right.
But yeah, that was cool.
Have you done anim direction on films?
Nope, never yet. This is the closest one now. I'm doing now.
Right.
But not even, because it's already been kind of established before.
You're doing a lot.
Sorry?
We're talking about an internal short for Agora.
Yeah, sorry. But like we have a good blueprint, and we have to solve, like as you're experiencing, we have to solve problems to put that into 3D.
Yeah.
But I would like to do that more. I'd like to do it on anything, even live action stuff eventually. Like I just find my interests are changing. Like I was saying, like I haven't animated in so long, and then I did a shot last fall. I think it's the first shot I did since seriously 2014. Because in souping, it's just tests that I never really have to polish or.
But don't you feel like you kind of lose touch when you do that, when you don't animate and you're
So
just souping?
Well, I guess what I mean is I animated constantly. Like I don't like to soup a show if I didn't do a test or know the rig. It's one of the first ones I did. Never touched any of the rigs. But I mean is you never have the pressure, or I never finish a shot. I haven't finished a shot in like 12 years or 10 years. Where you go through all the retakes and somebody's telling you what to do, and then I kind of polish it the best I can. I haven't had to do that in forever. It's just a test. Don't like it? Okay, I'll keep it rough. Next one, keep it rough. Or I'm prototyping stuff in games. That's always rough. So yeah, it was the first time I had to try and polish a shot, and I got a bunch of notes, and they kept changing their minds. All that stuff I hadn't had to do in so long. It bothered me a lot less than I thought it would. I thought like, once you're kind of calling the shots, and then you have to start listening to somebody else. But it doesn't bother me at all. It was okay. But my work is not as good as it was in 2014, like at all. I looked at my old demo and I looked at that. I'm like, But I know.
Well, you're not finishing the shots, so how can you?
Yeah, and
you did finish the demo.
I feel like confident that if I could work, good 6 months a year, like I'd be back to normal.
Yeah.
Or wherever I was, at least, right? But yeah, it's rusty. It gets rusty for sure.
I do feel a little rusty, like especially animating now with you on the short. I feel.
Do you get to animate at all?
Not before, no. I was the workload was too much. I couldn't.
Yeah, and I personally really hate animating when I'm souping. Like I feel the whole point of being a soup, or at least for me, depends on your team, right? So if it's like juniors, yeah, you want to really be there to help them. But anybody mid to senior, I'm just perspective. That's my value. Like I'm not looking at it, I don't see it, and then I can see fresh eyes. That's the value of it.
Right.
So when I'm in a shot, like I'm doing a shot on this short, and I'm like, I'm never gonna finish this fucking thing, and it's never gonna look good as it should have been, right?
Right.
So I totally get that.
It already looks good, by the way. So.
Well, the one guy did, but and then there's that other stuff, the other layer of like I hate all my work. I don't know if everybody's the same as me.
I'm definitely that way. I was just telling Val that I feel like I'm never really proud of what I did.
Few shots,
even like a week later, because I think I was talking to somebody else, and they were like, yeah, a couple months after, I always like look at it, and I'm like,
It literally,
literally like
same
a
thing.
week later, I look at it, and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, that was trash. You guys approved that though.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
That's on you.
That's on the film now.
Yeah, it's not on me. But no, I feel the same way, and this one too. Like I was like, I think I had maybe 5 shots in my entire career, and some of them ended up on my 2014 demo. I'm like, okay, I did a good job here. Like there was a snake I animated, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those came out okay. But most of the time, no.
You've been around for a while, and you were there when mocap was first introduced to the industry.
It used to be called Kadera before it was called Motion Builder. It was a company from here.
Kadera?
Kadera was the company here that created Motion Builder. Till Autodesk bought them. Sorry, what was your question?
Oh, the question I was building up to, how it was how was it marketed to you guys when it was being built, and like what were you thinking as an animator?
So there's another thing too that changed in this industry. There wasn't the internet that much. Like YouTube started in 25, and so the only news you got was from coworkers or people that are like high up in the company. So it was marketed, from my memory. I could be wrong, right? Like there's no press or websites I would go to, as exactly how AI is now, where it's just going to take our jobs and you guys are all going to have no value anymore. And then other people were saying exactly what they're saying too about AI. It's just going to speed up some processes, just a tool to get you there faster. I personally love mocap. I love keyframing way more, but I think mocap is so valuable. And I saw it right away. I didn't like working on it. It took me a long time to get like comfortable trying it out. But it was exactly that. It was right away, stealing jobs, cost-cutting tool.
Right. Everything
will be better faster. And
but then it ended up being just a tool.
It is just a tool, but like animators, I think every animator, I've met animators. Here's the thing that drives me fucking crazy. Where's the camera? I meet people these days, and I hope you guys aren't like this, and if you are, it's okay. I don't judge you. I judge the strangers.
Okay.
There's people that don't want to do mocap cleanup. And I don't know if it's because they're not comfortable, and that's different. That's your own journey. But I like to do 2D cartoon. I like to do animated character acting. I don't want to do anything else. Fucking good for you.
Yeah.
But like, if the industry is really going in a direction that you're going to have to become more valuable, you can't do that. Yeah. And I feel like I learned a lot from the years and I got better at it too. Like it's own thing. Mocap cleanup and trying to enhance it is its own thing. And I feel like I learned a lot about body mechanics.
I've had so many animators on my teams that don't know how to do it.
Yeah, like I don't fault you if it's a kind of, this is a hurdle I have to overcome.
Right.
But I do fault people that have done it and say, no, this is not for me. I get it. Like I think. No.
Well, you can't overcome the hurdle if you don't.
You have to try it. But you also have to it's still.
Like willing to learn.
But it's because I'm old school, right? Like it's a job. I love it. We got the luck. We're lucky we have the best jobs on the planet, but it is a job, right? And you need to be able to deliver, and you're limiting yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if it's going to head in a direction where there really is less work, you got to be more valuable in that respect. I hate to say it. Mm-hmm. Or, stay home and do your own art film, like 100%. But there's this kind of aspect to it that is kind of weird.
A little bit of entitlement, I guess.
No, I don't believe that stuff. I don't think anybody's entitled. I have friends that see younger generations, and like these fucking kids don't want to do overtime, and they don't want to do this, and they don't want to do that. And I don't agree with that. Like, good, fucking push it forward. I was telling you, I never got any overtime. I did free overtime for the first 9 years of my career. I did a lot of hours for free. They weren't even ghost hours. They just, nobody paid you.
Yeah. Even if you told them, they wouldn't pay
you. Yeah, no, they didn't pay you. One place, I think, had, what do they call it? Banked hours. Which I think is totally fine. But every other place is like, no, you just got to stay here tonight, or you got to stay here for the week. Sorry, what are we going to do? And I don't think that's good. I think this is better. I think
Agreed. Yeah.
fucking be as entitled as you want. I don't give a shit.
I have worked with a lot of people before that are similar to you, where like they've been around forever, and they're like, back in my day, we didn't do this and that. I'm like, so what? You didn't do that.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
doesn't matter.
So what, you want other people
Yeah.
to just not. I tell my kid this all the time. The world is only change. It's only going to change.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you can count on. And I think it's better because it benefits me too. I'm old now.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, yeah, I'm never going to do overtime unless like I really love what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would, and so I do pull overtime once in a while here, even now, like, cause I know my week will be better if I get this done now,
Yeah.
or I just really want to make this a little better.
Yeah. Or you just forget what time it is, and you're just.
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
My day is very kind of, I've not lazy now, but I've never had this level of like flexibility in my life.
Uh-huh.
And so I really work like a core kind of time of like 7 or 8 a.m. to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I don't talk to anybody anymore. I still message, but no, I've kind of like replaced my work ethic with this balance, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I focus more on home life.
You are pretty good at like boundaries. Like you pretty much.
Oh, yeah,
You're
straight
like
up.
as soon as you have to leave, you're like, sorry guys, gotta go.
Yeah, ciao. Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive. I don't know if I'll ever get
Do
there.
people struggle with that?
I hope to get there. Yeah,
Well-
I struggle with that.
But do you feel like, why would that, because people would pressure you, you mean? Or,
Myself.
Oh, like
I
you-
myself. Like,
but you mean like work ethic?
or like any type of boundary. Like I will say, today I want to work until 4 p.m. because at 5 I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then 3:30 comes around and I'm like, I'm deep into this shot and I'm like, I really just, and I just don't follow the thing and I'm like, well.
I guess maybe it gets easier to turn that on and off. Like but I need that flow too. Like again, I haven't animated in a while, but I do remember, and for recently, like it was problematic for me if I couldn't just get a good chunk of time in the day to just like get into it and do my work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same souping though. Souping is just like, like a million decisions a day, and they're all disconnected. And it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If I go take a walk and then I have to answer a question while I'm walking,
Yeah.
it's not the same as getting into doing an animation shot.
Yeah.
So that's also would help me a lot with the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And then it depends where you work. Some places treated you like MPC treated us. Like they tried to make it feel like you were really important there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting like this. Oh, okay, so that means I can just say no tonight.
Yeah.
And then I started trying that out, and it started kind of working sometimes, not every
Yeah.
time. And I guess I've been working on that for the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. It's been a journey for me.
Okay.
But yeah, turn it off, and I don't look at. I mute my apps, and I just don't look at my phone until the morning.
So when you were, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about MPC now that you mentioned
Yeah.
it, because you were kind of in it right when it started out here in Montreal, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe not right away.
Pretty close. We were working at a now defunct studio called Moco in Montreal that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful people were there.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of friends or a couple of coworkers, they moved to MPC because it just started.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'd been open for like 5 months or 4 months, and then I started working there.
Mm.
And I was supposed to go as a lead, and then I show up there and they're like, "Hey, we're missing a soup. You want a soup?" I'm like, "No, we're missing a soup." I'm like, okay.
I feel like it evolved a lot since you joined, and I don't know how long you stayed, but
When I started there, I thought it was a really cool place, but it didn't have a good rep. It doesn't have a good rep in the industry.
no.
And I totally get that. My experience there was great because I was learning a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy called, I don't remember his name. I don't remember his last name, and I'm very embarrassed right now. But I'd only souped at a few studios before.
Mm-hmm.
I was souping at a small studio. And that was a bigger studio with bigger clients. And he said it best. He goes, "You were so green when you got here. But after a few years, like you could see how it changed."
Mm-hmm.
So I loved my experience there, honestly.
Okay.
But it was my experience. I loved, like I was more important. Like, I mean, what I mean is like they treated you well. They treated me well.
Mm-hmm.
I found. And that's it. But at the same time, especially as I moved up, and then the last year I did the HOD job, I saw a lot more of what everybody else was going through. I didn't really see that on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it's a bit of a meat grinder, that place. I think it's good if you want to, I don't think it's, I'm conflicted to say this because I think your first job, the harder it can be your first few jobs, the better. But at the same time, I think that one's just a little bit too fucking hard. Like they were throwing juniors and asking them to do like mid to senior shots, and the amount of pressure that was putting on people, especially once you're HOD, you see it, right? So I talked to people and they're breaking down or they're having a hard time. And I started to see the kind of all the stuff I started seeing on the internet, you know, about it. You know the biggest joke I have, and it's not really that funny, but I still like it. You ever been to a wedding and they do this kind of like champagne waterfall? They like build up, this is like a thing from the fucking 80s or 90s.
Right.
I don't know if they still do this shit. They probably don't.
Chocolate waterfalls, maybe?
No, but they used to do this nonsense thing where they used to take a bunch of champagne glasses and build them in a pyramid and then pour from the top one and it would cascade down.
Yeah.
That's like everything in life.
Right.
Only instead of champagne, it's shit. And so we're at the bottom and all the garbage stops up there. It always starts up there.
Yeah.
And that's my honest impression. I feel like there's some people that were not the best at the top. They weren't good managers. And then there's the second side of it where VFX is just not a great industry, in my opinion. And so they were pressured from the nonsense of the VFX industry, and they caused a lot of the problems.
If you were to like point a finger at what like the root cause of the VFX industry being shit, I know there's many things.
There's so much.
Yeah.
I've done it a lot now,
like
yeah.
from like, you know, low bidding to.
Oh, so the race to the bottom, I think, is real. Everybody's got to try and undercut everybody. I forgot. So I'm saying things out of my ass here because I don't remember the real numbers.
Yeah.
But I remember Framestore got sold a few years ago to a Chinese company. And I remember the number being crazy low. Like, I think the number was, please fact check this.
Okay.
I feel like they got sold for like $200 million.
Oh, I don't know.
Like the amount of business they must do and like you're barely like the budget of 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much your entire, you know, like, so there's really that. The margins are like, I think the margins are very low.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest problem, as I was explained, is twofold. We're not unionized. I know everybody's talking about unions these days.
Yeah.
But our industry doesn't even need unions, in my opinion. We need a real, like, what do you call it? Like a trade union. Like, this is Hollywood and this is the VFX industry, and there's some standards there that doesn't exist in our industry. I feel like if you did that, if it started at the top, you wouldn't have to squeeze everybody and they wouldn't need to get unionized. But this movement of starting from the bottom and trying to force the top, hopefully that's great. I hope that works. But I think it's like there's something about the business of Hollywood with how they have, you know, they don't have money to make all their movies. They borrow that money. But the fact that they have this pressure to get their movies done in a certain time frame, that's not even marketing and release schedules and all that nonsense. I mean, just like, I want to make the movie. I got to borrow money to make it. I have this much time. There's all these unionized people that get the time they need. Not really, though, because they're all hardworking psychopaths above us. Every director decision I hated, they're all hardworking people that are trying to do the best. I've never seen different. Okay. I've never seen a producer that's trying to skim money. They've never tried to do it because they're just, well, I'm sure there's a few of them, I'm sure. But most of them are just trying to make the best movie they can. They want to make it as successful as they can. So there's this thing where they have this pressure of time for whatever reason that I may not know. And then everybody's got given at least a certain amount of time because of they're protected, down to craft services, which always gets above us in the credits, right? Or that you have traditionally. And then it goes to us, these like peasants that completely rely on the industry. I'm sorry to say it, but if there's no movies, there's no VFX people.
Yeah.
And so that's it. So we get squeezed at the end of that schedule every time. It's always been the same. And it's that. It's, oh, we were supposed to start in January, but you don't get the plates until fucking March. Okay. Yeah. It's still got to get done by June.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've seen, at least in my life, because again, I was at ILM pre-Marvel, or right at the beginning of Marvel, or Iron Man 2 is the movie I worked on at the time. It's gotten worse there too, I think, but I've seen them push back more over the years and change orders and this kind of stuff. If you know what I mean by change orders and all that crap.
No, I don't.
Change orders, like if you and I agree to a certain sequence in the budget, but then you change something big about it, the VFX studios will say, "Oh, this is a change order now.
Oh, okay.
We need more money for this. We can't just absorb this." That's what I think it is. That's the biggest problem with the VFX industry. They're squeezed for time. Everything else takes a bunch of time, and those people are a little more protected. And so VFX studios just get the brunt.
So then it makes sense for the unions to be a positive.
I would hope.
Or like at least a move in the right direction.
My worry is that you're just going to have a bunch of people go out of business because they can't support their teams. And there's some other company that'll step in another market that doesn't care about their teams or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like I'm very much a belief that it's got to start at the top to fix the bottom. But if the bottom can rise up, fucking straight up, beautiful, do it.
Do you think that, I don't know why, but
I always picture the very top. I'm not talking about the producers and stuff like that, but the very top.
Like
top,
studio heads and
Yeah. Being like, sitting in a chair, smoking a cigar,
I believe that too, probably.
So like, in the sense that like, we just hear about the movie we made, like won whatever awards and like made so much money. Who sees that money? Where does it go?
It goes to them. That's the reality of the sad world we live in. A CEO.
Well, you could easily like congratulate your team, give them a bonus, like, hey guys, we made.
And I bet you there's examples of that, but so far.
I mean, I haven't even heard of one. I think so far.
Oh, except for that
more
thing.
More than games, but not really.
Oh, games absolutely treat you.
Games.
It is weird, but see, games, it's their own IP. They control everything. Mm-hmm. Movies, they hire a bunch of people, and those people have no rights to the royalties. Or whatever that is, whatever actors get on the back end. Yeah, we don't have any of that. And I believe it. Like, I believe there's like a producer that played golf all year, and then they come back at the end of my project and like, I don't like the eyes. Okay, let's change all the fucking eyes. We did that. We had a movie we did called Pan.
Really?
And like, I think it was a month before. There's a few times in my career where like a month before we're done, we don't like the face design. So figure it out. We got to change it. What have you been looking at for the last 6 months? Like, they weren't, they were.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's. I believe there's laziness and stuff like that, but I don't think it's that. I think
there's also miscommunication. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things. Like communicating with people who are non-VFX or non-animation people. About different stages and like explaining what they're looking at too.
That I've definitely seen. I've only met more directors and producers, or worked with. I mean, that they don't understand blocking.
Yeah.
And I believe that's true. Yeah, there's like a million factors. I believe you're right about that. Yeah. I remember I heard one guy say once in a call, like, we paid for previs and it looks this good. How come your blocking looks worse? And it did look worse, but it was also gray shaded.
Yeah.
And so then, and this was at NPC, and NPC's like, okay, we got to start working on presentation now more. Yeah. And then NPC didn't implement that well. Like, presentation.
Oh, it was awful. In Godzilla, we had to spend about a couple hours a day, like setting up presentation. Which Godzilla did you work on? King of Monsters.
That's the second one, the one where he's fighting King Kong?
I think it's yeah.
Okay.
No. The one right before that one.
The one on the island there.
No, there's one in between those two. Between the island and between King Kong, there's
and
one.
Him. Okay.
Where he fights all the rest of the.
Oh right, the Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sorry, I'm really bad. I stopped watching movies too. But yeah, like 100%.
Like we spent even putting fog and stuff in the shots to present for animation.
It should be a button. Like, I did a calculation because I was so mad at my VFX soup. Because he was right that we need to present it well.
Yes.
And if it's going to be in shadow, don't make them comment on the leg. It's going to be in shadow. Put the shadow there. Mm-hmm. But I was not, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I'm getting kickbacks. We're not sending this tomorrow because the shadow's broken.
Yeah.
Or it looks too, the shadow looks too pixelated.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
And we lost a real 15% of our anim budget on presentation on that show. And that's a big difference. Like, we didn't polish some stuff because they had to redo their freaking renders, and sometimes
I wonder if AI could help us there. Good.
But there's studios that have decent pipelines already without AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it could. That's a good idea.
Actually, Rodeo had a pretty good.
It'll render.
I think they still do. They put a little bit of a mask over top of your play blast. Not a mask. I don't know what that's called, but there is some comping, auto comping.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I've seen that in some places. Yeah. Or they'll render with some basic lighting. Mm-hmm. We did the thing for Paramount this year, and they had amazing renders out of Blender. They would just bring everything into Blender, and it looked amazing. And we don't have to do anything. We have to press 2 buttons. So there's definitely solutions.
Yeah.
But at the time, at least they weren't. They were doing everything in Maya viewport, like you were probably.
Yeah.
And this is not, and it's a little disappointing to me.
It also made the anim scene super slow every time.
Yeah, lights and textures.
It affected so much more than just a couple hours. It affected the entire workflow.
Right, and you're supposed to be, you have 8 hours to work, and you're spending hours in your day.
Just waiting, I guess.
Yeah, or it's not good enough, or you're not sending versions to the client for these kind of,
I'm saying there should be enough, and I think this is what I'm going to be able to speak with the next producer about, is I think there should be enough time and resources spent
or
to
budgeted.
prep your client that you're going to be working with. Like that relationships, like solidify the way that you're going to communicate.
I feel like some studios try that though.
You think so?
You don't think that they do? Like they try to...
No, I don't. I wholeheartedly don't.
You feel like they just cater to whatever that director can do?
Because I feel like, here's the thing. I don't think, with some exceptions, I don't think that the clients or directors are against the thing looking good or having a good relationship with the artist.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
if they have a way for us to communicate better, they would do it.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If they could, they would. Yeah, 100%.
So it just has to be presented to them. But that should be part of, like, I don't know.
There's that, but see, so all these gripes, all these things, because we're on the floor.
Yeah.
I've overcome a lot of those in my heart.
Have you? Because it looks.
No, I do have, but see, it's internal management. This is what bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I said yes to that VFX soup, and I should have fought him harder. And said no, you're I did fucking say you're wasting our time. This is stupid. Find another solution, or let's find an automated thing, or let's take a break, or before the next project, let's make sure it's ready. So there's a bit of that, but yeah. But if you can manage it, and still have clients that have no idea what the hell they're looking at unless it's like super smooth. But you're right, it does not happen. It's not the norm. The norm is it's always a mess.
I feel like it should be part of the pipeline, just as important as figuring out how lighting will communicate with. Or
minimum, and this is the part they don't like, is the budgeting. You have to budget this.
Yeah. And
so you're talking about budgets being short, but there's also like bonuses for producers at some studios if they can get it under budget. And all producers pad their numbers. They should. They keep a buffer, I should say. Mm-hmm. There's everything. It's like a million things. And it's not like video games are like, fucking Shangri-La or something. It's like there's still tons of mistakes every day. Yeah. I don't know how to explain this. Like I feel like everybody I've met has been good-natured. Not everybody, sorry, take that back. Most people, though, in our industry are good-natured and trying their best. And a lot of the mistakes we make that affect, if you're an animator, it'll affect you, your day, or me as an animator. Everybody above you made a mistake a day. And you'll never know that I made that mistake. Mm-hmm. It just, I fucked up and it just goes away because there's so much chaos and so many things happening. So we're all allowed to work at a suboptimal level. Mm-hmm. And then I became a soup, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to be better than everybody, and I'm going to kick ass, and I still make mistakes. Yeah. And now we're doing an internal short, and I love the studio, and I'm like, how the fuck is this so disorganized? I don't know if you see this. I'm like, I'm supposed to be organizing this, and somehow you can't wrangle 30 people and make sure that every day you can't do it. Mm-hmm. So my philosophy became, a few years ago, I think anything creative, you're never going to hit. Even if you hit 70% of what you thought you were going to hit, it's successful. It's very good. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth of it. Like, it's too many moving parts. Yeah. Yeah.
Shit.
Or you get a bunch of clones of yourself, and then they will behave exactly as you expect.
Yeah.
And then everything will be perfect.
Something kind of interesting that I wanted to talk to you about is social media. Yeah.
I'm not huge, but yeah, what about it?
Not just social media, but the internet in general. Like how much it's affecting the content that we make. I think mainly like there's a few different areas where it's affecting it the most. One being like maybe pre-screenings or like looking to the internet for validation on like ideas that we're making.
How do you mean by that? Like, I feel like it opened up a lot of stuff for people. We don't need. It was stuck with the studio system or people that had a bunch of money to fund it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's been great in that respect. Yeah. But I don't have, I never grew up as what do you call it? People that love movies, a cinephile? I never had a high standard for this stuff. Like I literally, until I discovered animation, I was outside, I was fit. I was playing sports, and I played in forests, and because I grew up in the 80s. Yeah. It was pre-internet, was very different for me. And so we knew about movies, and I loved Terminator 2 and the 5 movies that would come out a year. But when I started seeing more content, I didn't feel like we lost anything. We didn't lose some kind of golden era of like it was more curated. I don't know if that's where you're going with it. Yeah.
I had another, same topic about social media, but about education, which kind of correlates to what you're saying, where there's a lot of crap out there.
I didn't know that there's a lot of bad information. I would say one thing that I do not resent, I don't like somebody that's got 2 years of experience making a fucking tutorial. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that they can't give you valuable information. Mm-hmm. But I do notice that in those kind of less experienced people, for sure, there's sometimes more just bad practices or just things that aren't the best. But I'm not very precious with any of this stuff. Like, I feel like we're all just guessing. We're all making it up as we go.
Yeah.
This is what I tell everybody. Everybody above you. I was raised in an era where you thought there was these like geniuses that are like super good at, they know story and they know this and they know how to animate better. And there are like 10 of them. I've met some animators that I was like really blown away by them. And I meet younger animators now that are way better than I was at that stage of my career. So, but at the same time, like, I know what it's like. I see people at higher positions and they're all just guessing. That's all we're doing.
We're all just guessing.
And like, there's that old analogy of, this is why I'm not too precious about bad tutorials. Or you shouldn't be talking to me about fucking how you know how to animate because you did one thing in Blender. Sorry, I hate Blender people. You could put that one on there. I don't hate Blender people. I hate the internet discourse around.
Yeah.
I just hate internet discourse. I don't like that anymore. I'm not very social media. But anyway, I'm digressing.
Yeah.
There's that old analogy of like, there was a pottery professor and you take half the class, his best students and the worst ones. And you guys get one chance to make a pot and you guys get 10. And the people that got 10 chances always did better at the end. Because it's iteration. That's the truth. We hate it. I hate to have to redo my shot, or you change the shot I just did in the fall. They changed the idea at the end 5 times. So I blocked in 5 different ideas. But that's how you make it better.
Yeah.
And it's just guessing and hard work. That's the truth. So to me, like, yeah, not all the information in your video is great, or I think there's better insights you could have had, but you're helping somebody somewhere for free. And that's way better than I had. Like I said, we just ripped off Toy Story. And I had there was an animator survival kit, which I think, and that's an amazing resource.
I have it at home.
And I still have it. And I think if you animated some of those, they didn't look so good.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the animation was the best, but the information was really good.
Yeah.
So same thing. I don't think you have to be I was a little angry there before, but you could be a garbage animator, but you could be a really good teacher. Does that make sense?
Right.
Just like you don't have to be the best animator to be a good soup.
Right.
You know, like my teams always have better people than me constantly. Like, it's okay. I got no problem with that. So yeah, but the thing I don't like about social media is social media. I feel like that's been, the internet's, when I grew up, sorry, when did you guys, like, when were you born?
92.
92. Holy shit. All right, so you were like 7 when I started doing this, right? The internet didn't really start up until 2000, let's say 99, right? I remember when I was 15, 16, I had my brother's computer, and all we had were message boards and email chains. And there was one for CG people. Like, I was somehow got on that.
Oh, cool.
It ended up being a website eventually called CG Talk, I think. But it used to be just.
Doesn't that exist right now?
I don't know if it's still around anymore. CG Talk is still around?
I've heard of it.
Or CG Society or something like that. But before that, there was another one that was just an email chain. And there was like that Pixar guy that programmed something, and like this other guy. And it was anybody. Like, we were just nobodies from Montreal, but you could just follow the emails. There was a guy that did a short that then went to Pixar.
That's funny. You were following an email chain of information.
That's what it was. It was like a message board kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it turned, and then it turned into like the web, and then you could get animated GIFs. And there was a point in our history for like a decade where the internet was really amazing, and you could just get all kinds of information. And then I'd say like since 2010 to now, it just turned into garbage. And the fucking corpos took over. And there was an article that came out about how you can't even search. You used to have better search results 10 years ago. Now it's just everything that's advertised to you.
Yeah.
And but again, ChatGPT now kind of threw that out, so we'll see. It's just constantly changing.
Yeah.
But I feel like the online discourse was always full of angry people that made a big deal about things that didn't matter. But now it's just like everywhere, and it's got more weight than it should have. There should just be a place that.
I mean, they've literally made movies change their entire.
Yeah, Sonic is a good example.
Yeah.
Like, we met that director now when we were working on the Paramount thing.
Right.
He's a super cool guy, and like, they got all this bad response, and they invested all this money, so they spent a whole bunch of money. Like, at the end, after all, I don't know what the process was. That was also NPC, I think.
I was there when, I wasn't working on the movie, but my friends were working on the movie.
And they changed the fucking face.
The movie was almost done animating. I mean, I don't know if almost done, like 3/4 of the
But yeah,
way
like
through.
a lot of work was
They
done.
had to redo the rig,
Yeah. But they find ways to like make it super heavy, but they just change the face over it usually.
Right,
but still, I don't know. I want to get I want data from somebody to tell me that if you got all these people hating your video game, do they really impact your sales? Do they really impact your sales? I'd love to know the truth.
Yeah.
And if so, why the hell are billions of us listening to like what 200, 300, 400,000 people. That's how many people are tweeting like on Twitter or whatever. Tweeting, I was gonna say.
Tweeting on Twitter.
Tweeting, I don't know, social media. I've posted like maybe 7 times in my life.
It's called X now, okay?
Yeah, whatever. I feel like a lot of people got their voices elevated and they shouldn't have. Like, it doesn't matter. I used to only know what my dad told me. My whole life was just what your neighbor knew and whatever. And then all of a sudden it changed to all these random opinions that have nothing to do with your life. Anyway, I'm digressing again.
But do you feel like, I mean,
Sorry.
where I'm trying to get at is like, do you think that it like has impacted the content that we make?
But in the sense of like that it got worse?
There's positives and negatives, right? Because nothing is black and white. But
It's 100% impacted, yes. Right? Because I guess some people that would have never had a chance that were very creative got to get stuff out there. And then that always affects what comes after. So yeah, 100% in a good way.
Yeah.
So I got really bent up on the whole, I just hate Twitter and yet I can't stop on it. I can't stop reading it.
I'm going to have to look you up and see what you've tweeted so far.
I don't think I've tweeted anything angry.
Okay.
But I've definitely I barely tweet anything, but I read a lot of it.
Okay.
It used to be just anim news and I loved it. And now it's just, look how this company treated me like shit. Or I don't mind that. I think it's good. Workers should tell each other everything. But
this is something I wanted to ask you because you've been around for so long. A lot of people talk about like how hard it is to get in the industry, but nobody talks about how hard it is to stay in the industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience. You're teaching me something now. You're saying it's hard because of...
like, for example, I think there's a misconception that it's difficult to get in, and then once you're in, you're good.
You're kind of good for life.
Yeah, you got something in your resume, you're good.
Well, it helps.
It does help.
It helps to kind of work on good projects as soon as you can. But I don't... My experience wasn't like that either because when I started, there was not much here. There was Ubisoft, not too far from here. And there was nothing else. There's like a couple small companies that looked just like this. And there weren't a lot of people that did animation here. So there was a kind of group of people that I've met, maybe 30 to 40 animators that are still working today that I just would go from job to job with them. Matt was one of them. There's a couple of other of our friends that I became friends with. And so that was our situation. And so it wasn't hard to get. There's people that never came back to it though. But I don't know why. So my experience was there was always work. I only had one gap of 6 months where I didn't have work and I got fired from one job because I thought I was too good for mocap.
But you were, oh really? So you were one of them?
My second job, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is garbage. And I was very wrong and I learned a good lesson there. That was my second job.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to keyframe and I wanted to do visual effects. That's all I wanted to do. But yeah, sorry. So, and then by the time it got way more competitive, I had 7-8 years experience. I was already kind of more valuable than other people. And so I never really had that experience.
Well, but I meant like stay on it, not because you're getting fired out of it, but more so because you are being unhealthy with yourself or like you're burning out or you're...
Yeah, that's
like
so...
you fall out of love with it too because it's so...
But I feel like, and I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but standards have changed too. People are a lot more... In our industry, I can only speak to our industry, people are a lot more conscious of work-life balance and personal health. And we weren't. We weren't. No, I have friends that are still healthy, very healthy. What I mean is it's a perfect job if you're single and have no family and you're in your 20s, where you're very resilient and all the garbage of the industry might not ruin you. But as soon as either you have a different mentality, like you do want a better life for yourself, even in your 20s, or you have responsibilities or other things, it does become very problematic. And that's why even I made a change. Like what was I? It's like 9 years ago, right? Or 7 years ago. So I was 15 years in or whatever, math, I don't know. So I had good experience. I was a senior and I still felt like I had to kind of take a step out.
You left, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So you didn't stay?
No, exactly. Like I left VFX completely and then I found other ways and that's why I think diversity is important. Like I was able to learn. I'd done a bit of mocap. I got much better at it. I had done a bit of this. I got much better at it. The thing I suck at is cartoons. I never got to do animated films like at a high level. Rango doesn't really count. It was not really a standard. Like the drawovers we get now with Appeal, I never had to think like that. So anyway, all this is, I'm digressing again, but the point is I can see that it's definitely a demanding job no matter what. and you're an artist, so you're lucky that you're getting a living as an artist, period.
Is that a fair way to think though?
Traditionally, yes. It's not easy to make a living in art. That's why we care so much about celebrity singers. Anybody can sing. Most people in the world can sing well. But there's 20 of them that get elevated to some kind of status of Taylor Swift, right? I feel it's not easy to succeed. To make a living as an artist, I don't feel it's traditionally been easy. That's what I should say. Maybe it's now with AI, I feel like it's going to get hard again for especially traditional artists, at least the kind of work they would get.
Yeah.
So not only is it demanding, but then technology changes and making it hard too. And and they were worried the 3D was going to kill 2D, and it kind of did for a little bit. It definitely reduced the market, but it's not gone.
No, it's not.
And then it had resurgences and came back and goes away. It's kind of, I feel it's going to be the same thing. But the trend now is good. If we can just get protection as workers, that will help a lot of people be able to stay in the industry if it's conflicting with what they want for their lives. It's just not quite there yet.
So if somebody came to you and asked you to join a union right now, you would?
I went to the IATSE thing. There was an IATSE thing here in Montreal, and then I followed up with some questions. The problem with not a problem, but I guess a downside is a union is studio specific. So I work for Agora now, and I have to start a union in Agora. If I then change jobs in a year to Frame Store, there's no more union.
Really? It's not
I believe that's how it works.
City specific?
Yeah, it's that's why we
studio
need
specific.
Yeah, we need a trade union. This is what I say we need.
Okay.
We need
yeah.
I'm a 3D animator. This is my card. Fuck you, hire me.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or give me whatever I need.
Yeah.
But it's not like that right now. And so applaud to the people. I think DNEG just did it here. Good for them. If that trend keeps going, those people are never going to leave. Well, they might never leave because now I have a good, respectable way to work, and I can have a life, and hopefully it picks up. But
that's even better for the studio if nobody leaves, right?
Right,
more retention of talent.
A team that knows how to work together is so valuable.
Yeah.
That's also another big problem too in our industry. It's just we all got to figure it out every time we start a new studio.
Yeah.
How they work, or if they don't even know how to work, we have to.
And it's such a personal thing. It's more than just like a regular job. It's
animation.
You have to be able to communicate together. You have to have some kind of chemistry. It doesn't work if it.
And that ended up being also part of what I love a lot about this. I love working in teams, even though even when I'm a soup, I kind of have other soups. I've always done this. That I kind of ask them, hey, what do you think? I want to show you some shots.
Yeah.
I love that. I never can work in a bubble.
Yeah.
But yeah. I hope it gets better. I hope people don't burn out.
Have you ever burned out?
Yes, last year.
This year.
Paramount killed me. That contract we did for that summer really got me. My dad died, I don't know my timelines anymore. So 2 years ago, right?
Sorry to hear that.
So 2022, at the end of 2022, he died. I didn't quite, and then I was busy, and then we went on to Transformers, and then we went on to Paramount, and they were very hard jobs, just fast paced. So I don't think I ever really kind of just dealt with everything properly. And so and I felt like I was burnt out there. And I was thinking all summer last year what I was going to do with my life. I wasn't even thinking about AI. I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do vertical farming. I think I would love to work. I love kind of gardening stuff from how I grew up with my mom and my dad. But then I kind of got back into it. And now I'm kind of happy. I love the work. I think I just got tired of the industry. That's what burned me out. Tired of all these moving parts, and one mistake or one decision somebody makes just has an impact on so many other people. And then you don't feel like you're doing your best work, and blah, 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 just the industry in general. Yeah. But it was mostly VFX. I go back to VFX and I'm like, I'm fucking tired of this again. Yeah. That was the burnout. And then I don't think I had anyone before that. I took a year off many years ago because I thought I would write a script and I'd become like a movie maker, film director. Instead, I just...
Can I read that script someday?
I never did it.
Is it somewhere? Oh, you
I just hung out with my friends for 9 months and I blew through my savings. But you could read the half of it though, yeah. I never finished it. But I never had a burnout until that, yeah. Took a while for me to really have it hit me enough that I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But now I'm feeling very positive. It's been a lot of fun. Because I love the work. The work is never going to go away. I feel really lucky for that. I love the animation. I love everything about what we do.
That is something I like too, and I also love the human aspect of it.
Like the people that you get to work with. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes, at least for me, became way more important. Where I was too good for mocap and I was chasing projects. Where now I just want to work with good people, because most people in our industry I think are good, but there's a few very I didn't have the word for it back then, but toxic.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of toxic people, enough of them.
Yeah.
But that's gonna probably, you know.
I was a bit toxic myself when I started out. I was looking at people's work and I was always like talking about it in like a negative way, like, oh, look how shitty.
But is that because? But you guys are a different generation, isn't it? Very competitive though. Don't you find it's very competitive?
I mean, yes, but everybody's.
So
we can compete, but that doesn't mean that I have to shame your work because we're competing.
Oh, I agree with you.
know?
No, but I mean is I'm not trying to give you an excuse. I'm trying to say, like, I grew up in an environment where we were all learning. These friends, like Matt and everybody, we all talked to each other about our work. We all tried to make each other better. We learned a little tip or a little trick.
Right.
It was very collaborative, even with your quote unquote competitors. And I don't think it's not like that anymore.
No,
now
it's not. It's
so
not.
many more people.
There's so much gatekeeping and like people not
that don't want to share their knowledge.
Yeah.
We think that's bonkers. That's why I love all the Agora stuff that we try to do.
Yeah.
Like I do iAnimate and I teach that course, but I'm okay to put stuff on free online because it's my perspective on how to do that kind of work. And I think it should be free. I think you don't need to like. I every student I have, I'm like, if you can go to like a sort of a government, like subsidized school where you're just paying normal school fees, yes. But don't pay for trade schools. Don't do that anymore. Just get it all off YouTube. Get it for free. If you really want to pay, I bet you a mentorship's probably better than...
Oh, mentorship for sure.
...than like a school.
Yeah.
Going into debt is bonkers to me. Like for me, what was it? It wasn't a lot, but it was $20,000 in 1999 to go to school.
No, I paid a lot of money to go to school, and I never felt like I had enough. Like I also went to iAnimate after, and I got internships too.
Those ones are like a little better because they're a little more kind of focused, but still, you learn more on the job, right?
Yeah.
You learn so much more just doing it and every day screwing up or getting notes from people that know what they're doing. Like, I definitely think it should be as free as possible.
Do you consider yourself like a born animator, or did you work towards where you're at?
I don't know, because I always hate everything I do. I feel like the imagination and storytelling and wanting to create something like that, I think that was always in me for sure. So what I've mostly learned is how to get over the software and how to get better workflow techniques, and then obviously improve your skill, right? You're working on it. So I guess I was kind of a natural. I knew what I wanted to do since I was like, whenever Jurassic Park came out and I saw it, I was like 12 or 13. I'm like, I want to do that. And I just worked towards that until I could get it.
Did you work in a Jurassic Park film?
No, I had a chance. My wife gave me a pass too.
Oh.
We got asked to I was going to go to Vancouver and work at the one there. And then NPC offered me a different movie at the time. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. But so I never realized that part of my dream. My whole dream was to go to ILM and work at ILM, and so I got that one.
Okay.
But then the other one was to work on a fucking dinosaur movie. And I did some low budget stuff, like there was like BBC Walking with Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We did some of that here.
Okay.
Didn't really scratch the itch though, because it wasn't the same.
It might still happen.
Yeah, maybe one day. But now I would never want to do that anymore. I don't want to go there and have to deal with like all the kind of ups and downs of VFX work. No, I would still do it. I lie. I would still do it.
Yeah, I think you would.
Yeah, I would love to still do like a proper Jurassic Park. But the movies haven't been great anyway, right?
No.
That movie blew my mind because I'd never seen anything like it, and it was like crazy.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
The first one.
Oh, the very first one.
I saw that. I'm like, I want to do this. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they made these crazy dinos, but I want to do that.
I don't understand what's so like. I just feel like, I don't know if I'm just jaded, but I feel like stories that are coming out nowadays are not as engaging. I don't care as much about the characters. I don't know if that's... I don't get invested as much.
Is that age, too?
Is it age?
Like what... movies were were escapism for me when I was younger. They captured my imagination. But as I got older and life beats you down a little bit, there's real tangible things that matter more to me now. So yeah, I'm not as engaged with some of the stories. I don't know if it's because it got worse though, or people say the movie studios got safer, and they don't want to take chances because they just got to make their money back. Maybe
I always thought it was like them trying to like appease to the public and like
too much of a kind of a
too much feedback from people and not like sticking to
this. I think 100%. Well, again, I know more. I'm a video gamer. I still play video games. I started when I was like 7, and I still love them. I definitely see that problem in video games. They care way too much. When I was growing up, they made a game the best they could, and that's what you fucking lived with. And now they got to patch everything, and people got to complain. And people are not. They're not equipped to give good feedback. Not everybody.
Yeah, you can't hear. You have to. What's the word I'm looking for?
Pick and choose, like parse.
Filter it.
It's so hard though.
But it's really hard.
Like
to
you
filter.
get 2 million comments on your game a day or movie or whatever. No, but the movies are their own thing, which is very faulty too. Like they do like test screenings.
Yeah, test screenings.
And I don't know who's in those things, but they're not the right demographic.
I've actually like rode a cab once with people who said they just went to a test screening, and I was like super curious. It wasn't a Godzilla film, it was something else. But I was in LA, and it's everybody in LA. So for some reason they just do it in LA, which I mean this might be wrong.
That's where the industry is though. It's like where it built up.
But there are people that sign up to be in like this callback thing, and then they just go and watch the films or whatever.
The idea and principle, I don't know. I don't know the validity. Like, it's the same for me as like polling. You're going to ask 2,000 people something, and then you extrapolate that. I'm sure the science somewhere, I'm sure I'm sounding like a moron right now, but it's the same idea. It's like you're getting a small group of people. It's so hard to guess.
But also, like, I feel like the movies I used to like and love and get lost in and all that stuff were somebody's vision. That somebody is
like they stuck to it and they pushed it through.
And it's not always going to look pretty, but if you push through it, like you get to the final thing.
I wonder. I don't know. I always felt it was me. I felt that I changed, and I'm just less engaged with these.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Like books never went away from me. I still love reading, and that's kind of where I always got my imagination before. Like where we could get all like kind of get sucked up in a world or something. I can't remember the last movie that like made me go, wow, I'm so happy to be watching this.
Yeah, do you know, like I used to walk away from the theater and think like, wow, that was such a like cool way to see the world. And
yeah, but I was younger. Like I was.
Yeah, it's true.
My mid-20s was I think the end of it for me. I don't remember. What's the last movie that came out that was good? I love Marvel movies. Like that's what I've turned into. Like like I'm not a connoisseur. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not anymore like a cinephile. Like I said. I loved some of those old Marvel movies a lot. Man, I can't even think of a movie that I love that's like, this is a fucking piece of art. And I can't even think of one in my entire career. I was never like that. Ironically, I'm looking at the camera now. I was talking to my brother, and I don't come from this kind of, my family's very pragmatic and working class people. And the other day, it just came out of the conversation. I'm like, yeah, but I did okay for myself. I'm an artist. My brother started laughing at me. Oh, you're an artist now. What the fuck you think I've been doing for the last 25 years? Because I never think in those terms, and I never think in this. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you consider yourself an artist?
I guess I do now. I came to realize it at the end. I was talking to my friend 2 weekends ago. That's why I came up. I'm like, I guess we're artists, right? That's what we do. It never felt like that to me. It just felt like making these things move, and I'm telling a story with this guy's vision or whatever. Like I don't know. I never really thought about it. I just really loved. I love the act of animating. Like I love getting lost in it, and it's 4 hours later, and I only completed one thought.
Yeah.
But that was it. And then like I just love that act, and I never really thought about the art of it and the creativity part. It's just natural, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think movies matter less to me now, but it's possible that they all got crappier too. Yeah. And then once in a while, there's that gem that comes through. But I feel it's me. The other thing that happened to me too is I lost my ability to watch any kind of suspense in movies. I'm not gonna say the word. I'm a real baby about it. Let's just say that. Like
you like fast forward till like
straight
it's
up
done.
I'll fast forward, see how it resolves, then I'll watch the scene. Okay. It's like a psychological, something broke in my brain like 5 years ago.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and like I've watched like amazing movies, but I can't watch them normally. And I was trying to watch Sicario once, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just want to see what happens." Okay, she makes it. Okay, go back a bit. No, it's good. Let's watch it. We're good. And I don't know why this happened. Something switched. It all started with my kid though. It started like 7 years ago. Something happened when he was born. I feel like I had something to lose. Now I don't want like fake pressure. It's like there's enough in real life.
Yeah.
I don't need this now.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I started liking Marvel movies too. I'm like, they're gonna be fine. It's gonna be great.
That's so cute. That's such
a weird
cute way to look at it though.
I think so. think that's what happened to me. Maybe I'll snap out of it.
Do you think that having a kid like changed the way you look at animation or informed it at all?
Yeah. As far as the work, it kind of took it down a notch for me. It's like my identity. But no, like I never even thought that anything I worked on would inspire some kid's imagination. You do though. What we do is like we're making a whole other generation of people.
Yeah.
But and since having him, that never flipped for me either. Like I've heard people say,
yeah.
you know, I just want to make something my kids would love or be proud of. I never even thought about that. And his shows suck. Like I don't.
Oh, the stuff he watches.
The stuff he watches is so. Nowadays, I think it might have always been like this, but I grew up on like G.I. Joe and Transformers and kind of a lot of Quebec local stuff, which was live action. And now it's like fast paced and everybody's snarky and everything's just, I don't like it. I don't like it as much, the new content. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever make something that he would like, that I would want him to watch anyway.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I work on.
Well, you work on more mature stuff, I think, right?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
Generally we do, yeah. But yeah, I would love, like that would be my retirement plan. If I could just get a job on some kids show, I'll do the whole episode for you. Give me 4 weeks, I'll do it all. And that would be it. You could pay me half the salary, it's okay. But that might be fun. Or I could direct something like that and I could just tone it down just a little bit. Like you guys know what Bluey is?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful show. That's a nice little cute thing that came out of nowhere.
Our nephews watch that.
That's a good one.
Who
For
made
parents
that one?
too. Sorry?
Who made that one?
Somewhere in Australia, their company.
Okay.
I looked to see if they needed people.
Okay.
But they're, because it's not just purely 2D. Like they kind of do like Flash kind of anim, I guess. I don't know how they do it. I didn't look into it. But there's gems once in a while. But yeah, no. A lot of the stuff sucks. And I feel bad for kids today. Because again, I don't know how you guys grew up, but I didn't grow up with a lot of TV. I grew up with like a decent, how do you find like, I grew up with a decent balance of I'm doing real world things most of the time. And then I got this little escape time.
Oh, I
Saturday
did
morning
also
cartoons or movies.
Yeah,
sometimes.
so I have a 13-year-old sister. So we're 13 years apart.
Yeah.
No, we're 13 years apart. She's 17 now.
Oh,
if she
right.
heard that, she would kill me. She's not 13.
In your mind, though. In your mind.
But yeah, she is like, I watch her generation. It's so different from what I was. I mean, I was going out on bike rides and I was doing my thing with my friends and we would go pick each other up because we had dial-up internet. Like I did go online sometimes, but the internet was the same as my phone line.
Yeah,
so if
me
I
too.
used the internet.
And I only had it because my brother, or else my parents couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
My brother's 9 years older than me. He's much
okay.
older. So I'm your sister in this scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for her, it's like very connected online.
For her, she's just online all the time, 24/7, and she might be hanging out with her friends sometimes, but it's through FaceTime, like on her phone in her room.
I feel bad for that, and I feel bad for the kind of media. Not feel bad, but the kind of media that we create now. So this might have changed, but not because of social media.
Mm-hmm.
It can't compete with real life. Like I grew up and I used to have to watch things, and it's a fucking bug climbing. I wasn't born in the 1900s, you know what I mean? But I mean. Real life is much slower paced and much regular, and there's a lot more of spatial awareness you need. Mm-hmm. But movies and anything, any kind of media, and these kids start young. My kid, I was like, he's not going to see TV till he's 5, but like a year old, and he was already watching something on the tablet, right? And there's cuts and there's fast action, and you're engaged, and your eyes, it can't compete. And so I feel bad for.
You think it's like stimulating the brain too?
Very. I'm not saying too much, but it's absolutely setting a pace that real life will never seem remotely as interesting as this kind of escapism. So I don't think that's a good trend. I feel like there'll be a study in 30 years where there'll be like too many people are depressed now because they don't know how to deal with,
real
I don't
life.
know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but with climate and all that crap, but yeah. So yeah, I don't think there's been this trend of more and more and more. And I think we hit our peak pre-COVID. It's like the Matrix. We hit our peak like at some point, and then we're just going to see some kind of change in how much we can produce. And I don't know. I have no idea where it's going to go. But
well, it depends because if AI makes everything faster,
it doesn't make it good though.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's so hard to guess.
Do you feel like VFX film quality has dropped over the years?
Oh yeah, I think people are right with what they call the Marvel effect. I mean, it has because it used to be. It's still prohibitively expensive, but now you just do more of it and it just doesn't look as good. But like you got a Marvel movie. What was I watching the other week? 'Cause I still watch Marvel movies because they're safe.
My first movie was Avengers Endgame.
That you watched or worked on?
That I worked on.
But that one had a lot of crap in it, but it all looked very good.
Yeah.
So that's a rare one.
Yeah.
But I was watching the Marvels or Miss Marvels.
Miss Marvel, I haven't seen that.
So the new one with all three of them though, from the different shows or whatever. And like in one movie, like now you're on the fucking moon, and now you're here, now you're there, now you're there. You can't film them all the same way. You can't shoot them. So this one looks like a garbage. Not to the artists.
Yeah.
But this looks like a rushed matte painting and clearly green screen.
Yeah.
It's hard to hit quality with that much amount of stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, I see the people, laymen, complaining about how effects don't look as good, but then you'll watch The Creator, I don't know if you've seen that, and that was really nicely done almost throughout. I don't think I even noticed some of them. Or like there's a lot of movies that have a lot of visible effects. I hate that trend. I'm very much that person that if I was on Twitter, I'd be getting very mad at, what's that guy that does Christopher Nolan. There's no CG in my movie, like fuck go at that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the time.
Yeah.
Bullshit, you know what I mean? And I think like there's a lot of good invisible effects that still get done.
Yeah.
And we don't appreciate those.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely too much stuff that they want, and there's not enough talent in the world. And I don't mean talent, but experience, and just not enough like people and resources to do it at that pace.
How do you feel about like the no CGI sort of stuff that's going around?
I will say I do hate that. That nothing bothers me on this planet.
Yeah.
People don't bother me really. I get very upset about.
Except Twitter. Twitter bothers you.
I don't like people being so sure of their opinions that they think that it gives them like a moral high ground, and that I can be crappy to you. So yes, I do think all the social stuff that we're going through now, that's slowly being represented in our and it's good, right? People are mad that there's like a black mermaid or diversity. That people are, it's just nonsense, right? So on their side, come on, like just it's okay, you know. This is the world that you live in. It's not your little bubble. This is the world. But then people on the other side that are very much in agreement with how I feel about the world. There's so many of them that are very fucking mean on the internet. And I don't like that either. You're not putting anything good out there.
Yeah.
Yes, you think you have the moral high ground, but guess what? Everybody does. We're all the hero.
Yeah.
This is my story. You're all background to my life.
Yeah.
So nobody really has it. You should all just kind of treat each other with more respect, and we don't. That's what I hate about Twitter.
Yeah.
It's just so easy because you're just taking a crap
Yeah.
and you're just saying something mean, and then you go by your day and like nothing happened. You never realized you had an impact on somebody.
Yeah.
So I hate that part. And I don't like this sort of dumbing down of all our hard work, or not dumbing down, but they're negating it, or I don't know what the trend is or why the trend is happening.
Yeah, they're just like.
Everybody loved VFX like 10, 15 years ago.
I don't necessarily think that people hate it. I think it's just marketed that way.
But what is causing filmmakers to be like, oh no, of course we're going practical because practical is better nowadays. But I don't like that. I don't like that the marketing is trying to push for this.
Yeah.
It's just so it's what you kind of touched on, which is there's enough people in our industry that are not creative, and they're just doing their best. So that's why I don't really hate them. I just hate the situation. And they don't know, right? So they just see a trend, and the trend is, oh, look at all the bad CG that happened because of Marvel. I'm going to chase that trend to make my movie more successful. I'm going to try and promote it as, oh, look, it's all live action. So I can always look at somebody's perspective and always understand that they probably don't mean, like there's not ill will there, but I fucking hate it.
I mean, I don't know if you can say there's no ill will there, but
I don't think there's ill will. I don't think they
come on, it's a whole hundreds of people's work that you're.
You should be more thoughtful and mindful.
Yeah.
You should be more responsible.
What I am thinking is it's not just that there's not enough talent out there. It's also like the race to the bottom of really small budgets. Yeah. And so, someone will comment like, this VFX looks cheap, or it took me out of the movie. And then their reaction is, we shouldn't do VFX anymore because it makes the movie feel cheap. It's like, well, good VFX takes time and the right amount of people.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's that the race to the bottom has nothing to do with it. 100%.
Yeah.
Cheaper is better. But I do think it's the amount of content. That's what you look at my tweets and you'll see the only one I ever did, and I did it for my friend Phil. Can we get movies back to a tight 90? I don't want to see your 3-hour fucking movie full of special effects that can't be done well.
Yeah.
Just tell me a story in 90 minutes. Anybody could do it for 50 years, and all of a sudden I got to watch a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Yes, you flesh out stuff more, but I feel like it's partially, to me, it's the amount of content as well. I feel like it's a bigger factor, but that's just my opinion. Like, I could be wrong, because what do I know? I didn't do any research. I have no data for this.
Yeah.
It's just my impression off the internet and what I see. But it's that. There's a lot of stuff. And yeah, and if they want to do it for cheaper, because there was a point where everybody got excited because those first CG movies that were really hits, like Jurassic Park and a bunch, like Starship Troopers. I don't know if you know what that is. Like, did you ever see Starship Troopers? There's some great stuff that still holds up today, or at least I think it does. In my mind, it does anyway. And so they were realized, oh, this is really expensive, but this is amazing. And somebody somewhere assured some producer, like whatever that Illuminati of Hollywood is, that like this is going to get cheaper. It's expensive now because technology is not there, but trust me, as we get better at this, it's going to get cheaper and more affordable. And that's what they all have been pushing for. They want more of it for cheaper because somebody somewhere expects it to just get easier. And it doesn't, because you're at the same time making it all more complex.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not going to get easier. Stick to what you did in Jurassic Park. You did 7 dinosaurs and you did whatever, I don't know how many minutes of footage. And now you make a movie like that, it'll look amazing still. It'll look better than ever because everything did get better. Everything did get easier, but they don't do that. They just push more and more. It's that, I forgot the principle too, but there's that principle where if you have you're planning a city and there's 2 lanes and you're like, if we just made it 4, that would solve the problem. But what's going to happen is now there's way more people because you have more stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Some more cars,
if you give like a chance for more content, we're going to stick more content in there.
I have some questions from the Agora community that I want to ask you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. I feel like we might have already touched on some of them, so I'm gonna
You might get better versions this time. You try anyway.
Oh yes, this is the boundaries one that I already asked you. Because actually, this question came from me. I noticed that you had really good boundaries. I just noticed that you're able to walk away when you need to, and I was impressed.
Oh.
I was like,
Just build up to it, man. You'll get it.
I'll get there someday.
No, but I'm telling you, especially if you ever have like life changes, you'll see it'll happen. Work is not gonna. Do you find work as your most important, not important part of life, but it's a very important part of your life?
I think so, yeah.
And it is it's part of my identity.
It's almost my identity, yeah. I identify myself with what I do.
It's what I do most of the time, right? But eventually, the other things trickled in, and as soon as that started becoming not my main one, that's when it became way easier.
Okay.
So it might just be a life change.
Would you ever return to work at a studio physically?
I told myself no, but now that it's 4 or 5 years in, probably. I do miss. There's definitely advantages.
Yeah.
I do miss just being able to, like, this is way better than on the internet. But yeah, probably. But not currently. I have no plans for that now.
Maybe, I feel like a hybrid is probably the ideal. So you still have a choice? Yeah?
Yes and no. Like, for me, it's prohibitive because most of the studios in the city are down here. And I'm not too far away. I'm in the city, but I'm minimum 40 minutes away. I feel like hybrid would be more annoying.
Right.
Because I have a lifestyle I need to balance. So if a couple days a week I can get my son, but then a couple days I can't, like, no, it's either all in or all not. Like, I need to, I'm very much a person that likes structure and repetition and predictability, if I can. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know a little bit more about your experience on Rango.
Okay. What do they want to know? I loved Rango.
Just what was it like? Was it a good experience?
Yeah, ILM was my dream job. And Johnny's too. Johnny's another animator that you know that I worked with there. Did you know Johnny too? No.
Johnny Spinelli?
Johnny Spinelli, yeah. Oh, you know him as well. And so when I got to work on that, I just loved it. I loved everything about that movie. I was working at the studio. That was my dream job. Everybody there was bonkers nice. Like, it made no sense. And I met these people, and I see them cutting demos because they're going to do a talk somewhere. And you got like 6 minutes of like money shots that I still don't have that. Yeah. And they were just so nice and welcoming and helpful. So it was just a beautiful crew of people. And I learned a ton. Again, I did like my best work. That was like when I was animating every day. And then all the nerdy stuff that I got over now. Look at me. That was like my first big job outside of Montreal. I'm at a big studio and there's real movie directors here and everybody. Look, I'm in the theater. Yeah. I'm watching my stuff on the theater. That's my dailies. It's in the theater. And then ILM too was just like amazing. And that was ironic too. They have the screening room for the Oscar people.
Mm-hmm.
That's also where I lost a little bit of luster though for the Hollywood thing.
Wait, what?
Because they would have official Oscar screenings at one of their theaters there on the campus.
Right.
So the people from the Oscar, whatever it's called.
Oh, at ILM.
Yeah, at ILM in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. What are they called? The Academy.
Oh, okay.
But when I went to, and we were allowed, if they had extra tickets and the Academy didn't fill up the thing, we were able to go watch all these free screenings early, right? I loved all that shit because I was like into it, and this is like the peak of everything I could do. And ILM, okay, I'm going to keep talking here, but I think my experience is more about ILM than Rango.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
But a side note, when I went into that theater a few times and I started looking, I'm like, these are just fucking all old people. You're judging what's going to win the Academy Award? No wonder this one won and not that one. So I don't know what it's like now, but in 2009, it was literally all senior citizens because they must have been in the industry for 50 years. They know their stuff probably, but I was a young punk and I was like, why are these fucking people here? But anyway, and then the second thing about ILM was I was walking through the hallways and all the stuff I grew up with was there, like Slimer from Ghostbusters and the guy that gets flattened at the end of Roger Rabbit, all the props, the little kind of fake rig that they had for the T-Rex. They ended up doing it in CG, but it's all that nerdy stuff. I loved it. But yeah, Rango was good though, just because at the time, people were already complaining about how animated films were feeling too homogeneous already. It's all the same kind of acting, all the same kind of designs, because Pixar and DreamWorks were really the only ones in blue sky, I think. So it was really different. And I was a guy that loved film more than animation at the time. I liked anime, but I didn't like Western animation at the time. And it was filmed like a real movie. And then the director was the guy called Gore Verbinski. And I loved all of his notes. We got to sit there with him. And I loved all of his notes. And he never talked about, and even the Anim Soup was a guy called Hal Hickel. He's one of the guys don't put this one on there, or you can, I don't care. I modeled myself after he was one of the guys I modeled myself after, in the sense that he only just wanted to keep you in the rails and just let you have ideas. So I'm trying to do your shot too, but your shot's different because we're trying to fucking get that 2D to work in 3D.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love the director. He just gave great notes, and he just cared. He knew every scene. He knew what he wanted them to feel or do, and that's all he would talk about. And it was really awesome. And also the way they did it too. I don't know if they've done that a lot since, where they did a lot of their major scenes on a stage. They acted it out like as a kind of a stage play, and you don't really end up using a lot of that, to be honest. But sometimes you do. And that's just a cool way to work. Like, there's just a lot of things that I felt like my eyes got open to kind of bring my game up. And then again, you're surrounded by all this talent. Like, they're all good. At least half of them were good.
For context for people, when he says that's what your shot you're working on, is because we're working on a short together. Right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I don't think people know that.
I when I try to soup, I don't want to. If somebody, I find it comes out better if the animator brings ideas to it. But unfortunately, sometimes I gotta I gotta just keep it in the rails. Because there's soups I've had that just. This finger is moving 2 pixels too much.
It depends sometimes on the shot too. Some shots are very specific.
I don't think they teach enough about. Audience eye direction. They don't talk. They teach us about continuity of motion, but eye direction matters. You look at all the old Pixar movies; their feet suck because they know we're looking up here. And like I try my best not to waste time on that, but I don't think I'm perfect at it. But I try my best.
You're not doing a bad job. I like that. Okay, and the final question is, why Agora?
Why did I go to Agora? David?
And why do you stay?
I don't want to compliment him on film.
Oh, come on.
I very much like the way Agora is run. I'm gonna look right at you, fuck. But I've told. So our David and Jacob are like as superiors or whatever you want to call them. I've never seen anybody run a company like Dave. I've never seen it, and try to prioritize their workers over success and growth. I've just never seen that. So that's one of the reasons. The other one was I like the people that I already knew that were going to work there. I knew that they were all kind, and I like that too. And then since I started working there, everybody that I didn't know ended up being really kind too. That's what's kind of keeping me here. And then the unparalleled flexibility, but you get that from working from home. Like I save 15 hours a week not commuting somewhere. That's an extra 15 hours I have to do other stuff or work more, but that's my choice, right? So it's mostly those. It's the way it's managed so far. Because it's hard not to grow, right?
Right.
And we had that meeting. We had a meeting not too long ago talking about companies always grow fast and then they lose some of their culture and things go wrong. That can happen anywhere. It could happen here too. Who knows? But it's mostly that. It's the way it's managed, the way they try to be very people-centric. It's the same way I try to be a soup. Everything I do is a soup. Okay, not everything. It's weird to talk to you about this.
Just say it.
It's weird to talk to you about this because you don't know what's going on in my head. And I might say something next week that's still like, this guy's a fucking full of shit. Yeah. But it was born for me from, I feel like I always want to start from the bottom. Like when I'm an animator, what used to piss me off the most? And I tried to never do that as a soup, and I wasn't able to, but I tried my best. And then I think about that from the production too. If I'm sitting there trying to do my job as an animator, what's going to make it the smoothest day for me? Because I really think that if you start from there, and people, you know, I don't know if you've ever said, or if you've ever heard this, like I'm only as good as my soup. If my soup doesn't give me good notes, I'm not going to do a good shot. You never heard this? I used to hear this a lot.
That's bullshit, though.
It is, because then I became a soup. I'm like, I'm only as good as my fucking team.
Yeah.
If they don't bring something to this, it's gonna suck. Yeah. No matter what I do. Yeah, I can elevate a shot from 10% to 30, but it'll never get to 80 if you can't bring it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like Agora has that same mentality, and corporations do it too, and NPC had it too. You know how many like talks I went to about. They'd hired professionals to talk to us about how to manage our teams better. And in my mind, everything I heard was like, oh, just be a normal person. Like, that's how I was raised. Yeah. Don't be a piece of shit. Like, anyway, so I like that a lot about Agora, too. That bottom up is generally how I think they try to work. At least that's my impression. And it's cool. And it's cool that there's more studios like that these days. But, yeah, not enough yet.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
And really thank you for having me.